Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive? This time we're tackling something, well, pretty intense.
Yeah, this one's gonna hit home for a lot of folks.
We're talking about fear, but not just any fear, the kind that clings to you, the kind that's tied to, well, past abuse.
We dove deep into breaking the cycle of abuse for this one.
Powerful stuff, and yeah, it gets heavy, but it's important, so important to understand this.
Absolutely.
So right off the bat, the book throws this statement at you. Fear.
Mm.
It's the fuel for both sides.
Both the abuser and the victim. Yeah.
It's like this hidden engine driving the whole cycle of abuse. Wild, right?
Totally. And what the book does so well is it breaks down how that actually works, you know?
Yeah, explain that.
Like on the abuser side, often it's this deep-seated fear of, I don't know, losing control.
So they exert power because they're afraid of not having it.
Exactly. It's not an excuse, obviously, but it adds a whole other dimension to understanding, well, the whole mess.
There's this quote from the book, and it just stopped me in my tracks. Those who need power over others, they do so out of fear of someone having power over them. Heavy stuff, right?
It is, but it's also a profound insight, you know? It helps us move beyond just labeling people good or bad.
Because sometimes the abuser is acting out from their own, well, their own past hurts.
Their own trauma. Exactly.
Then there's the victim side. The book talks about how someone might stay in an abusive situation out of, what, terror?
It's this constant fear of what will happen if they try to leave. What if it gets worse?
The fear of even more violence, or just being totally abandoned alone.
And that fear, it becomes this trap. It keeps
Mm.
people locked in these patterns that just aren't healthy.
And the book really drives home how childhood trauma, that's where so much of this starts, right? It shapes how we understand fear.
Oh, absolutely. If you grew up in an environment where abuse is like unpredictable, you're always on edge.
Always waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah. The book uses this really intense phrase to describe it. Intense fear, helplessness, loss of control, and the threat of annihilation.
Wow. That sums it up, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it captures what these kids are going through, this absolute terror.
It's like their nervous systems are stuck in overdrive, always on high alert.
And the book calls it frozen watchfulness. They're constantly scanning for danger, even when there isn't any.
So we've got this foundation of fear laid down early on. Then the book takes us into how we react to that terror.
Fight, flight, or freeze. Right. We all know those.
But here's what really got me. It's not just about physical danger anymore.
Right. It spills over into everything else. Our emotions, relationships. It's like you're carrying this baggage, you know?
Unseen baggage. And it affects how we handle stress, conflict, even intimacy.
Oh, for sure. There's this example in the book about Jenny, right? Always on the defensive in her relationships.
Quick to anger, lashing out at the smallest thing.
And it all traced back to the abuse she experienced as a kid, the unpredictable nature of it.
So her body learned to just expect an attack, even when there wasn't a real threat. Crazy how that works.
It really is. It's like her system got stuck in that fight mode permanently.
And this leads us to PTSD, which the book says, well, it's like those normal danger responses, they get stuck on overdrive.
Exactly, even long after the traumatic event is over.
So it's not about being weak or anything. It's your body trying to protect you based on what it's learned before.
It's a physiological response, like
Yeah.
your alarm system is malfunctioning, basically.
Always on high alert. And that leads to anxiety, panic attacks, all those things.
Flashbacks, nightmares, it can manifest in so many ways.
It's so validating, though, to know it's not a character flaw.
Right. It's not you, it's your system reacting to what it went through.
And the book doesn't just stop there. It goes on to explain this whole web of fear, control, and anxiety.
Because for so many survivors, control becomes this huge issue.
Like some try to control everything to prevent any more harm.
While others just stay passive, frozen by fear.
And that section on anxiety, that was a light bulb moment for me.
Oh, yeah.
It explains how living in constant fear rewires you, literally. Panic attacks, insomnia, even physical symptoms, all because your body's stuck in that red alert state.
And it makes it so hard to break free. You feel helpless. You can't assert yourself. It just feeds the cycle.
So, okay, we're starting to get how fear takes root. But the book doesn't just leave us there in the darkness.
No, it offers a way out. It gives us actual steps to cope, to manage this fear.
Okay, tell me everything.
Well, it all starts with understanding. Understanding yourself and how fear operates, then we can start to reclaim our power.
All right, I'm ready for the next part. Let's dive in.
So the book, it gives us this four-step process, like a roadmap for dealing with fear.
4 steps, okay. And it's not about like erasing fear completely.
No, no, it's about learning to manage it so
Yeah.
it doesn't, run your life.
Gotcha. So what's the first step? Where do we even begin?
Identify the emotion. Straight up. It sounds simple, but honestly.
Oh, I know what you mean. We push it down, pretend it's not there.
Exactly. And that makes it worse. The book really stresses this, tuning into your body, your feelings.
So those physical signs, like heart racing, that kind of thing.
Yeah, sweaty palms, tense muscles, those are signals. It's fear, plain and simple.
And I bet that's hard for people who've spent years, like, numbing themselves out.
Oh, for sure. It's unlearning those old survival mechanisms.
But it's got to be done gently, right? You can't just force it.
Totally. It's about baby steps, building up your tolerance for those tough emotions.
Okay, so we've named the fear. What's next? Figure out what it's telling us.
Yeah. Is it a right now danger? Like actual threat happening? Or is it,
A ghost from the past.
yeah,
Something that reminds you of the abuse, even if it's not happening right now.
you got it. And that distinction is huge.
Hmm.
Because if it's present danger, you got to act, protect yourself.
But if it's a fear rooted in the past, that needs a different approach.
Well,
Which brings us to step 3.
and this one's tricky. If it's past-based fear, you got to feel it. Like fully feel it.
Oh boy. I can see this being where people hit a wall. We're so good at pushing feelings down.
But the book's argument is that's what keeps us stuck,
Yeah.
in that cycle of fear.
Because it doesn't go away, right? It just festers.
Yep. So instead of fighting it, acknowledge it. Let yourself feel it. Even breathe into it.
That sounds so counterintuitive. But I guess the idea is you lean in instead of running away.
And in doing that, the fear loses its power. You're not letting it control you.
Okay, so we've identified it. We know its message. We felt it. What's the last piece of this puzzle?
Now you ask yourself, is this fear, is it a match for what's going on right now?
So, like, is the fear level appropriate to the actual situation?
Exactly. Connect the dots between past and present. If you can link this fear to a specific bad memory.
You can get some perspective, maybe realize the threat isn't as big as it feels.
Right. Your system's probably overreacting because of the trauma. It's learned to do that.
Like, oh, my alarms are blaring, but is there an actual fire? Or am I just smelling smoke from years ago?
Love that analogy. It's about learning to tell the difference between real threats and, well, phantom ones.
Which I imagine is tough when trauma's involved. Your brain's always kind of on edge.
It is. But the book doesn't just give us these steps and then say, good luck,
There's more, thank goodness.
Yeah, it gives us tools, ways to actually calm our systems down, those fight or flight responses.
Okay, lay it on me. What kind of tools are we talking about?
Simple stuff, but super effective. Deep breathing, for one. The book walks you through how to do it.
Slow it down, really focus on each breath. It's amazing how much that can help.
Right, like hitting the reset button. And then there's progressive muscle relaxation. Ever heard of that?
I've tried it before, actually. You tense up different muscles and then release them.
Yep, it releases all that tension we store up without even realizing it. Works wonders.
So that's more of a physical approach. What about for the mental side of things?
The book talks about visualization and mindfulness, creating a safe space in your mind.
A mental vacation? That sounds nice. And mindfulness is about just being present, right? Without judging yourself.
Exactly. Quiets those racing thoughts. And the great thing is, these techniques, they're not just for the moment.
You mean they can actually change how your body reacts over time?
With practice, yeah.
Oh, right.
You become less reactive to those triggers, better able to manage it all.
That's so empowering. It's like we're not prisoners to our own fear response. We can change it.
We absolutely can. But it goes even further than that. The book encourages us to take action, deal with the root cause of the fear.
So not just managing symptoms, but going deeper, huh?
That's where the real healing starts. Talking to people you trust, challenging those old thought patterns that hold you back.
And visualizing yourself as strong, capable, even when fear shows up.
Yeah, if you spent years feeling powerless, that's huge. You start to rewire your brain, believe in yourself again.
But action can be external too, right? Like if the fear is tied to a specific situation.
Absolutely. It might mean setting boundaries, getting professional help, maybe even removing yourself from a dangerous environment.
That's important to point out, because as great as these tools are, sometimes you need more.
Exactly. It's a journey, this healing process, and it's okay to ask for help. You don't have to do it alone.
It's really amazing how this book manages to give you both sides.
Yeah.
The deep understanding and the practical stuff.
It shines a light on all the hard stuff and gives you a way out.
One thing that really hit me was this idea of trading fear for anger.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
Like we use anger to protect ourselves from feeling the deeper stuff, the fear, the pain.
Total defense mechanism. And it makes sense to your point. Anger feels powerful, like you're in control.
But as the book points out, it just keeps that cycle of abuse going.
It doesn't solve the underlying problem, yeah.
It makes you think, how much of the anger we see out there is actually masking fear? Not just in other people, but ourselves too.
That's a powerful question to sit with. Really look at the motivation behind the anger.
Because underneath, there's always something else going on. Vulnerability, hurt.
And understanding that can change everything.
Yeah.
How we relate to others, how we see the world.
This deep dive has been, wow, it's been a lot. We've gone deep into fear, the effects of trauma, but also,
The strength it takes to heal.
what are your big takeaways from all of this?
I think the biggest one is that healing, it's a journey, not a quick fix. There'll be good days, bad days.
Setbacks, breakthroughs, it's all part of the process.
But every step you take, you're building resilience, taking back your power, moving towards a life that's not ruled by fear.
And it's crucial to remember, you don't have to go through this alone.
Mhm.
There are therapists who specialize in trauma.
Support groups. Tons of resources out there to guide you.
So if you're struggling, please reach out, find a therapist, join a group. There's help available. You're not alone in this.
Not at all.
This has been a lot to process, I know. But I hope it's left you with a sense of, I don't know, hope?
Possibility, definitely.
That even though these things are heavy, healing is possible.
Absolutely. It takes work, but it's possible.
And on that note, we're going to wrap up this deep dive. Keep exploring, keep asking questions.
Keep diving deep.
Until next time.